Welcome to the MSU Turf Team Update. Today is May 12th, 2020. My name is Kevin Frank from the MSU Turf Team. Today I have once again with us the state climatologist for the state of Michigan, Dr. Jeff Andresen, who will give us the weather update and forecast. So go ahead, Jeff.
Well, thank you. I'll shift over here. You see mine yet here? Very good. Well, I'll start with my lead opening here. It has been an unseasonably cold week, as an understatement. Talk a little bit more about that. But the map here, and you'll see this in another minute here, but these are minimum temperatures for the widespread hard freeze event here over the past weekend, Friday night, Saturday, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. But it definitely is a theme, certainly for the past week. Starting with just some statistics here, where we've been on the left, mean temperature departures from normal for the past week, and there's a lot of blue there, a lot of dark blues, and what you're dealing with, if you can't read the legend there, 10 to 14 degrees Fahrenheit below normal on average. That is the largest departure either way that I've seen in some time. Matter of fact, it's just not even in memory since we've had a week that cold. It isn't surprising though, given again especially daytime temperatures here during the past week. Many times, some places did not make it out of the 30s. We had a couple of locations in the Upper Peninsula that didn't even make it above freezing a couple of days. And for the first week in May, that's essentially almost unheard of for that to happen. It was also for most of the state a drier than normal week. On the right-hand side here are precipitation totals for the past week, and they range from just a little bit over half an inch, thanks to the weather system that we had here on Sunday that came through over the weekend. You can see that heavier precip generally for the bottom 2 or 3 tiers of counties, but it dropped off pretty quickly as you move north from there. And most of the state, especially east central, lower, and portions of the UP, less than a tenth of an inch. And it's actually gotten dry. The topsoils had several comments about, again, with drier than normal conditions back to, in some cases, back into March, the topsoils have actually become dry. But at depth, no question, given all of the precip last fall and even into the middle of the winter, there's still plenty of moisture. It's just now at depth. So some parts of the state are actually, the topsoil is actually a little bit dry, but as you'll see here, one of the major themes we'll talk about today, big changes coming, and there's going to be more water on the way sooner than later. Here is a summary of the minimum temperatures for the hard freeze event, again, on the 8th and 9th. That's Friday night, Saturday morning. Combination of data from our EnviroWeather Meso Network here in Michigan, plus everything we get from NOAA. And a couple things to note here. One, we had, the lowest temperature observed here that we could find was 19 Fahrenheit. A couple places up in the interior western Upper Peninsula, there was also 1 or 2 reports of 19 degrees in the western lower. One thing that you can definitely see if you look at the colors here, and in this particular graphic, the legend, where we got the pink color added here, that's actually a little bit milder temperatures. But it was definitely milder for this event across the eastern, let's call it the eastern third or eastern half of lower Michigan, and then for the Upper Peninsula. That was courtesy of some lake effect clouds off of both Lake Superior and the northern Lake Michigan. The wind was out of the northwest, and as a result of that, temperatures remained several degrees milder than might have been the case otherwise. Now, the same was not true across, again, portions of western Upper Michigan and the western Lower Peninsula. And you can see, at least spatially, that's where the coldest temperatures occurred. Most of these areas, interior areas of western Lower Michigan, had lows in the low to mid 20s, close or at record-breaking type levels, but far, far below what we typically would expect. There was even also reports with lake effect. There was measurable snowfall up in portions of both of the eastern Upper Peninsula and then the northern Lower. So much more like early March than early May. And it's also worth noting here too, I put this in here because for central and southern parts of the state, it was the coldest temperatures we've seen here the last week. But in the northern part of the state, it's essentially been freezing almost every night. In many parts of the state, today, this morning, Tuesday, was the 7th consecutive day with minimum temperatures at or below freezing. And that's amazing for May, even for northern parts of the state. And we have one more night coming, so that'll make 8 consecutive days, again, with temps below freezing. There were also this morning, Tuesday morning, there were some pretty cold temperatures in east central parts of the state that were missed or did not get quite as cold this past weekend, with some mid-20s. So pretty much everywhere has had a taste of these unusual conditions. This is a no-brainer. Looking at degree day totals with colder than normal temperatures all the way back into early April, we're way behind, and you can see all but really a couple scattered areas, the far southeastern lower peninsula. Everybody's at least 2 calendar weeks behind where they typically are, where they should be at this time. And I guess as we look at the forecast, and for certainly for moderation and more normal conditions, this will change. But right now, it's one of the amazing things if you look out and you look at what has bloomed here over the last few weeks. And I think, well, forsythia is a really classic one. I have one forsythia bush, and it's been in bloom. I've counted now for at least 3 weeks. I've had people tell me it's been longer than that, but it's really unusual to see the phenology basically just in suspended animation. But this year, this spring, we have seen that, just because it's been so cool, particularly during the daytime hours. So way behind, but there will be changes by next week. Today we have, courtesy of another Canadian origin air mass, a big area of high pressure here across much of the Midwest. And there's both good and bad with that. The good is the days are going to be beautiful, a little bit of windy on both today, Tuesday, and also tomorrow, Wednesday afternoon, the same thing. But full sunshine, it'll feel very warm. We've got a high sun angle right now, so really nice to be outside. And most parts of the state will see highs well into the 50s and probably some low 60s by tomorrow, Wednesday. But that high pressure will gradually drift off to the east and then set the stage for another type of weather pattern. On the not so positive news, with this high pressure right over the top of us tonight, yet another night with unseasonably cold conditions, radiative type of freeze event, although probably not quite as severe as or cold as what we've seen in the past few days. But most parts of the state will see some frost and probably temperatures down maybe the upper 20s in the northern part of the state to around 30 or so in the south. But there will be a lot of frost out there to deal with tomorrow morning before, again, that high slides off to the east. The next weather system and in regards to that, in terms of temperatures I mentioned here are our forecast minimum temperatures overnight for the 13th, Wednesday morning, the 13th of May. And you can see, again, upper 20s generally to low 30s are what's expected, with the coldest temperatures in interior sections of both the upper and the lower peninsula. Tomorrow morning, the high is off, just off to our east. We will have return flow out of the south and southeast that will moderate to bring temperatures up a little bit more than they would have been otherwise. And then off to the west, you can see this next weather system here, area of low pressure with a big warm front. That'll get closer and closer and at least bring the chance for rain beginning, I'm thinking, overnight Wednesday into Thursday, probably early morning hours on Thursday for most areas of the state is what we'll see. And here's the map for Thursday morning at 8 o'clock. And you can see precip has moved over most of Michigan here ahead of a warm front. This will be a fairly widespread and steady rain. There will be some embedded thunderstorms in this. Greatest chances will be across central and southern sections of the state, but everybody should see some precipitation with this. And we are looking at significant precip totals with the Gulf of Mexico being fairly wide open. You can see southerly wind flowing into the system. So most areas will pick up at least a half an inch. Many in the southern part of the state probably closer to 3/4, maybe some 1 inch totals where we do get thunderstorms. So the most probably significant and widespread rainfall we've had here in Michigan in several weeks. That will continue during Thursday, during the day and into the evening, and then come to an end before daybreak on Friday. That sets the stage for really pretty nice day. There will be a few clouds lingering around on Friday, but noticeably warmer temperatures. We should be well into the 60s to near 70 for high temperatures on Friday, and then continue at those levels into the weekend. So a major, very, very noticeable warming and moderation in temperatures here is in the works for the next few days, and that definitely will be noticeable by the weekend. After Thursday and the rainfall event here, the next rainfall event arrives overnight, probably or maybe late in the day in western parts of the state on Saturday, and then continues overnight Saturday into Sunday. Like the event on Thursday, widespread precipitation is also expected with that second event, with similar type of precip totals, 1/2 to 1 inch totals possible then for the latter part of the weekend, and then drier again on Monday. So when we look at the gauge here, some big changes from our past couple of weeks looking at precip forecasts. You can see at least 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch in the far north. That'll be the driest part of the state, increasing as you go south towards the Indiana and Ohio state lines. Some cases maybe 2 inches or even a little bit better than that are possible between now and next Tuesday morning, 8 o'clock. So that's a big change in terms of our outlook. More moisture, more in the way of water. And for those areas, again, especially in eastern lower Michigan where it have been dry, that's probably not going to be the case by next week. And you add into also in the warmer temperatures, and all of it leads to some significant changes in acceleration, I think, in terms of phenology and development. The other big news beyond that, how long would this change or moderation last? And the answer is probably for at least a couple weeks. This is our 8 to 14 day outlook, and it's actually not the same. We had many times in the last few weeks where both the 6 to 10 day and the 8 to 14 day timeframes are almost identical, and are not quite here. But the 6 to 10 day outlook is essentially a transition to the pattern you're seeing right here. The jet stream pattern, interestingly, is not completely different from where we've been over the last several weeks. But the big difference is that those jet stream has contracted northward or poleward. And it's left us in the southern branch here of the jet stream across North America. And you can see instead of having flow out of the north and northwest, it's more out of the southwest. And that's unquestionably going to lead to warmer temperatures for almost all the Midwest and the East. And you can see that in the upper right here. Warm mean temperatures are a very strong bet for this period, the 19th through the 25th. You can also see at the same time with that kind of a jet stream pattern, it also very common to see an active storm track through the area and above normal precip totals. And even beyond that, I think, again, right now, most of this guidance is suggesting that this pattern will continue probably for the bulk of the remainder of May. So from this weekend here on out, we're probably looking at a real run at some late spring, maybe even some early summer weather. We'll be up to normal by this weekend, and then probably beyond normal, above warmer than normal by next week, and then a little bit beyond. So again, the guidance is suggesting this is here for at least a little while, if not a couple weeks. So summarizing here, one more night of frost and freezing temperatures, and then we start to see big changes occurring by tomorrow. Definitely in terms of moderating temperatures, but also in terms of precip. Next chance for, after a beautiful day again tomorrow, we'll see rain overnight tomorrow night into Thursday, which will be significant. And then another chance here this weekend, late Saturday into Sunday, with some possible 2 inch totals possible for the week. But then temperature-wise, again, warming back up to at least normal, and then above normal beyond that for much of the remainder of, looks like right now, the month of May. And so with that, I'll wrap up and see if there are any questions. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you, Jeff. It's good to see some warmer temperatures finally back in the forecast. Stop sharing your screen, you can whenever it's convenient for you. Yeah, I think both the combination of warmer temperatures and like you were saying, maybe a little bit of moisture, because I know it has gotten to the point, at least in this part of the state, where it is a little on the marginal side for being dry. And with warmer temperatures coming, certainly that would be expressed if we don't get that moisture to come along with it.
Right. Well, with the warmer temperatures, also the water demands will go up too, and again, in some of these spots that have been missed in the last few weeks, I suspect we'll see a lot happen very with again normal, at least normal, maybe even a little warmer than normal temperatures and some warm nights. It's been a while since we've had that, but collectively you add some water on that, and I bet things will move pretty quickly, especially relative to where we've been for the last several weeks.
Yeah, I think those cold temps, I know with respect to just turf growth, I mean, nothing has been happening like it normally does where we see those big surges this time of year. Just to, like you said, we're 7 nights below freezing roughly and going on 8. And that's a very good growth regulator for Mother Nature.
Yes, and well, climatologically, it's very very unusual. Matter of fact, we've looked in the books and we really haven't found another year quite like this one. With that record-breaking air mass over the weekend, just a shot of really what should have been in winter that occurred in the middle of spring, or even late spring. In this case, it's just but the very very unusual climatologically for something to go on this long and at the magnitude that it has.
All right. Thanks, Jeff. Really appreciate you doing this for us. And we look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you.
Likewise, my pleasure.